Our next speaker is a youngster, as I said. Her name is Nidhi Lahoti. She is currently serving as the new product development and business development executive at Geolife. She holds a master's degree in biotechnology from the Imperial College of London. And she is actively engaged, and she has her own NGO. If those people who have seen our earlier programs, The Voice of BASAI by Krishi Jagrat, she was interviewed in that, and she does an amazing job on underprivileged children and empowering them. The education of students for rural and underprivileged background. So, ladies and gentlemen, a warm round of applause for Nidhi Lahoti.
Jai Hind. This is how we address or greet people at Geolife. So this is how I wanted to start it here as well. And before I dive right in, like Vipin uncle has already said that I'm probably the youngest here, I would expect a certain level of enthusiasm from you guys as well. I'll keep my presentation very short, but I want a lot of interaction from you guys. Okay? So you don't have to do much, but if your answer is yes to any of my questions, please raise your hand. That's all I'm asking you guys to do. So raise your hand if you know that there are microorganisms in our gut. Happy to know that everybody knows that. Raise your hand if you know that these microorganisms are extremely vital for our bodies to function. And raise your hands if you know that these microorganisms protect us from a lot of different diseases. And raise your hands if you know that plants have their own version of gut microbiome. Quite an advanced crowd I have here. So what are these plants' version of gut microbiome? These are called endophytes, and this is what I'm going to be talking about today. So what do endophytes mean? Endophytes are basically microorganisms that live inside the plant body. We know about soil microorganisms, we know about microorganisms that are on the plant body, but there are microorganisms which are inside the plant body that also form symbiotic associations with the plant. And this can be in the vascular bundles or tissue cavities or other intracellular spaces in the plant. And here's a small representation of how they look inside a root or inside a leaf. So plant has different stages of life cycles, and with all these different stages, there are different types of associations with endophytes. So starting with the seed, endophytes are already present in a dormant stage inside the seed. So when the conditions around the seed favor growth, these endophytes become active and lead to seedling development. And these endophytes which are already present in the seed are known as spermatophytes. So when the conditions are favorable, the seedling formation starts happening, and these endophytes start moving to different parts of the plant body. So in the roots, they may help in nutrient absorption or protection from soil-borne diseases. In the shoot, they may help with nitrogen fixation or development of leaves or chlorophyll content. And when it is time to form fruits, or when it is time for the reproductive stage, these endophytes release certain hormones and enzymes that favor attraction of pollinators or certain features in these flowers that are beneficial for the reproductive stage. And moving on to the fruiting stage, these endophytes help in fruit ripening. And finally, moving on to the next generation of the plant, these endophytes get stored in the seeds again in the dormant stage until the seed finds a suitable environment for germination again. So what I'm trying to say is endophytes are inevitably found in all stages of the plant life. And this has been favored by evolution. There are studies that state association of endophytes with plants dating from 460 billion years ago. That means endophytes are doing something right, which is why the nature is favoring the presence of these endophytes with the plant through evolution. And there were studies being conducted in Louisiana in E+, that is plants colonized by endophytes, and E-, that is plants not colonized by endophytes. These are the two different test samples that they have taken, and they found significantly higher survival rates, germination rates, growth rates in E plus plants as compared to E minus plants. And the mean, that is the average growth rate of E plus, was the double of E minus plants, which basically means that we should be favoring endophytes because these organisms are a part of the biodiversity. But because of the use of synthetic chemicals and fertilizers, we have kind of killed them. But it is our time, this is the right forum for me to be talking about this, that we need to bring endophytes back. And this is one step forward in the direction of bridging the gap in the biodiversity from Geolife by bringing endophytes back. But how do these actually help? We're coming back to the most important point, that is the mode of action. So when plants experience different types of stresses, different types of metabolic pathways are being activated and different molecules are being released inside the plant body. For example, biotic stresses like fungi, viruses, bacteria, nematodes, insects; abiotic like drought, temperature, water, salt. All these different stresses activate or trigger different pathways inside the plant body, activating that particular gene or that particular part of the DNA to release signaling molecules. And these endophytes inside the plant body will identify these signaling molecules and say ki, acha, this is drought ka stress. So plant is experiencing drought. I need to make something that the plant will be relieved from this particular type of stress. So identifying the drought particular molecule, these endophytes trigger their own pathways to release molecules or secondary metabolites that help the plant combat this particular type of stress. So that is why we say that these are very intelligent organisms, and that is why evolution has favored the presence of endophytes inside the plant bodies, and we need to move more and more towards in this direction. So what have we done? After understanding this theory, after learning about biodiversity and evolution, at Geolife, we conducted a wide-scale study for, this has been going on for years, and it has been 2 years that we have found significant breakthroughs in this area. We have proudly developed a bank of more than 200 different endophytes that we have isolated on our own. We have studied their properties, which could probably be secretion of secondary metabolites or secretion of antagonistic molecules that prevent pathogenesis, or growth promoting hormones, could be anything. So these endophytes have different functions and properties. And then we conducted study of each of these endophytes, and we recolonized them inside the plant body to see if they're actually doing the function that we have identified or not. And then after getting satisfied results inside the plant, we isolated them again to compare the bank of endophytes that we had previously generated versus this endophyte that we had isolated again, to check if they're the same, if there are properties that are changing, to find out the stability and compatibility of these endophytes. We have tested them individually in the plants as well, and also made consortiums by testing stability and compatibility and then testing it in the plants. So we did wide-scale in vitro trials, pot trials, and field trials. And after thorough research, after thorough stability test and compatibility test, we found we shortlisted 11 strains out of the 200 plus strains bank that we have and made our product, which is called Bactosmart, because these endophytes, like I mentioned before, are intelligent endophytic organisms that live inside the plant body, which can identify the different types of stresses that plant is experiencing, and in turn release the required type of molecules for to help the plant combat that particular type of stress. So the benefits. Bactosmart, organisms in the Bactosmart product are able to produce zinc and are able to fix nitrogen for the plant. They also act as an immunity booster by producing secondary metabolites, antibiotics, and siderophores. They also produce exopolysaccharides to form a biofilm to prevent colonization by pathogenic strains. They also produce growth hormones like IAA, which help in growth regulation of different parts of the plant body, like root or shoot or vascular tissue. They also help in growth parameters in terms of chlorophyll content or germination rate, and they modify the root morphology or optimize it by regulating the osmotic adjustment as well as stomatal regulation. Geolife has a state-of-the-art research field research facility called the GRF, or the Geolife Research Farms, where we have a team of people from different agricultural fraternities like entomologists, pathologists, agronomists, horticulturists, where they've all come together and developed a set of parameters that need to be tested for this product, and conducted a wide study by, for example, for one trial they're tagging multiple different plants, identifying different features, yield parameters in each of these plants, and finding out studies that are significant and studies that are not significant by doing statistical analysis. And after conducting these trials at our own facility, and we conducted multi-locational trials in multiple different crops, and here is a summary of results of percentage increase over the control crop. For example, in muskmelon, we can see that increase in plant height is about 6.9%. In tomato, we can see 14.6%. In chili, it's around 20%. In brinjal, it's around 11%. Number of leaves have increased in tomato by 33%. In chili, 14%. In brinjal, 41%. And the number of sprouts increased by 15% in muskmelon, 17% in tomato, 16% in chili, and 17% in brinjal. So this is a short summary of the yield parameters that we have tested and in different crops in different locations in India. So like I mentioned before, that endophytes are smart, intelligent bacteria who are able to identify the type of stresses that plants are experiencing. So based on that, if suppose the plant is in the fruiting stage right now, and the plant says, I think I need something that can help me ripen my fruits. So the endophytes can identify that need and produce protease. If the plant is falling short of energy, endophytes can secrete amylase to break down starch into sugars and provide energy for growth. If the plants are experiencing cell damage and require repairing, then endophytes can produce cellulase. If there is some threat like a pathogen or a disease that is attacking the plant, the endophytes can identify that and produce hydrogen cyanide. Or if the plant needs growth regulation, the endophytes can produce indole acetic acid. So this is how the endophytes identify what the plants require and give them what they can. So before commercialization at Geolife, we believe that our products have to be extremely stable. They should be able to work in all kinds of climatic conditions, soil conditions, weather conditions. So we've conducted certain stability tests, and we found out that our strains are stable at temperature 10 degrees, at room temperatures like 28, as high as 45 degrees. They're also able to grow properly and profusely between pH 3 and 10, and can survive in saline soil up to 15% salinity. So what I'm trying to say is that these strains are extremely robust, and they can probably survive in all kinds of conditions and still continue to perform as they do. And what we're offering is the product as a finished product itself in liquid and powder form, or it is also available in a concentrated form, which could be compatible with a lot of your formulations to enhance properties of your products. So yeah, thank you for your time. And if you want to know a little bit more about this, you can visit us at booth 18. Thank you.
Thank you, Nidhi. Very energetic. Very precise. Thank you very much for giving us an insight on endophytes.